Revocruit here in the building, sitting down with none other than Mr. Cinco Boone. Cinco, Coach, good to have you here. If you don't mind just introducing yourself to the audience.
Yeah, Cinco Boone here, head coach, South Plains College, Levelland, Texas.
Yes, sir. Looking forward to the new spot, right? New home here in the Texan Dome. You got high expectations, filling some big shoes here at a credible program. How would you describe, for those wondering what you're going to bring to the table, the identity of what this roster and this program will have?
Well, obviously, and you mentioned it, but the reputation of this program, and the people that have come through these doors, player-wise and coaching-wise, it is big shoes to fill, and you feel the expectations when you take a position like this. But right off the bat, it's a recognizable name in recruiting, and so I do feel like we're able to, and I think that all teams start with recruiting, and so you have to get out and find the talent, and with this being so recognizable, it's easy to get good players, or maybe easier, yes, because of the success that the previous teams and coaches and players have had. And so I think you'll see talent on the floor, and I think that our assistant coaches have done a great job of getting us good talent. And now I hope that you see a team that just grows as the season goes. I don't want to peak early, and I want us to, whatever each individual needs to accomplish, whether it be on the floor, off the floor, academically, like whatever it is that they need to improve, that you see a team that has improved in those areas by the end of the year.
For sure. Yes, sir. And I'm looking forward to some of the lessons you bring along to this program that you've learned in the past. Obviously, you've worked under coaches like Chris Beard and Danny Kaspar. What's one of the lessons from them that you've adapted to make your own looking into this season?
Sure. Well, two legends in the state of Texas. And obviously Chris is at Ole Miss now, but those guys have won a lot of games in Texas, and a couple of the things that I've learned from them. Number one, just toughness. And I think that Coach Beard probably more so than anybody teaches mental toughness. And I think it's like, how do you react when things aren't going your way? It's not your day. You're not getting the calls. How is that going to take you out of your game? Is that going to take you out of your, just even your regular life? Like when times get hard, and he always used to say, "Tough times pass, tough people last." Yes. And that's something that I've always thought that carries a lot of weight across the board, and no matter what you're doing. And Coach Casper was kind of the same, but we were always so physically tough, and it's because of how he would push those guys to their limits and really push them, which also increased their mental toughness because they had to fight through some adversity, but it in turn made them physically tough. And so really I think toughness is something that I'm hoping that we can get through to our team, and by the end of the year, you'll look and say, like, man, that team was really tough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, you're still new into the season. Obviously, you get a first look at some of your players in front of 50 college coaches we have. Great tour, by the way, that South Plains hosts year after year. It's a team full of newcomers. Tell us a little about the roster. What newcomers should four-year coaches know? Sophomores, freshmen. What are you looking at there on the program?
We're transfer heavy, whether it be a junior college transfer or a four-year transfer. And so you're going to see a lot of sophomores, probably 2/3 of them are sophomores. We've got some guys that I think have some resumes. When you look at Johandre Ortiz and you see that he is the leading returning scorer in all of junior college, now was not here, different league, different place, different school, but he can really fill it up, and I think that he is garnering some attention early that I think from four-year schools. I think we have, a guy like Alex Kemedehuto that came from Frank Phillips that was a part of a team that went to Hutch last year and is a 7-footer that can run and jump, tremendous athlete. You have Ali Umega, who redshirted here last year, and probably not many people know about yet, but he was on a Final Four team last year, but redshirted, and so he was a part of a winning program.
Had a great summer.
Had a great summer. Yeah, he really did.
forward to it, yeah.
And he's played well in some events of yours. And transfers that, man, good players across the board. You know, Mekhi Bell and Keith Richard, who today were injured and out. And you've got Jalen Colon that played extremely well today. You've got Deion Ware, who played really well today. You've got Entala Senlinel, who played really well today. They're all Division I transfers. Zion Pipkin, transfer from Wichita State, I thought was a great floor director today and got the ball into the paint. And so, you know, it's hard to really just almost, you know, and I'm going to miss somebody else because we've got some young guys in the program, like a Jordy Jomo, who's a legit length and can shoot it and play. And so anyway, I could ramble on and go about all of them, but I definitely think that we've got depth. I think that we have athleticism, and I think we got good length at the rim. I think our shot blocking will be really good.
Yes, sir. And I'm looking forward to it. I know these values you bring across from your history. These young men, obviously, are to you more than just basketball players. And you emphasize graduation and life skills. What's one non-basketball life skill you will hope every player leaves your program with?
It's called the Tuttle philosophy. And it's named after a guy named George Tuttle, who later on in his life, he had brain cancer, but he was a coached Division I. He's coached, you know, professionally. Anyway, he just was a guy that never felt sorry for himself given the circumstances that he was in. And when all these guys graduate, and all the guys that have played for him in the past know this, but they'll receive a keychain or almost like a tag that they can wear around their neck, and it'll say Tuttle. It's actually it translates to on the floor, but it's really off the floor for the rest of your life. That, you know, no matter what life throws at you, you can't drop your head. You can't feel sorry for yourself, because at the end of the day, the world really doesn't care. You got to continue on, and life moves on, and you have to move on with it, and you can't get down, you know. And I think that's a big part of what we try to, and we instill that through athletics in our basketball program of, hey, we're going to translate this to basketball when somebody goes on a run, when we lose a game, or maybe we go on a 3-game losing streak, or whatever it is. When times get tough, you can't get your head down. You got to be able to fight through it and remain in the fight.
You know, how do you think Revocruit can help high school players and their programs as we try to put these guys into the workflow of your junior college players and transfer portal players out there as well?
Sure. Well, you know, the accessibility and the easy access for college coaches to be able to jump on and be able to, you know, I guess the old school way was to, you know, somehow get a kid's name, and then you try to go find them on social media. You tried to go find a phone number. You had to spend so much time, you know, and if you're trying to find a lot of kids, it takes a lot of time. And so for a college coach, for them to be able to access it on an app, which we're all on our cell phones all day long anyway, you know, all of a sudden you can pull it up and boom, 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 you know, like I can get their social media, I can get their phone number, I can find their stats, and it's easily accessible. Man, if you're a high school kid and you're wanting to get recruited, and we know that it's hard for high school kids in this era with the portal. Most college programs are trying to get old and stay old. And so for them to, you know, get noticed and get an opportunity and get their name in front of coaches, man, it can be right there instantly in front. And I think that it would be a huge advantage to them to get their name and their film and their information out in front of college coaches to get recruited.
How do you see this being a tool that South Plains may use for their own players to help with that accessibility for everybody abroad?
You know, obviously, I think we're going to utilize it for the exposure piece, you know, and we've used these events in the live period to help our guys get exposure. And then just the service itself is something that I think is of value to any college coach.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're in closing here. We're sitting with Mr. Boone once again, South Plains head coach. When people think of that phrase, Coach Boone at South Plains, and you know the rest of his program, college coach, parent, player, what should they think?
You know, hopefully that they see somebody that I've tried priding myself on having a work ethic that stands out, that people notice that we're going to pour into and put effort into what we do. And we try to make sure that we lead by example with that. It's not just something that we talk about. We walk the walk as well as coaches. And I hope that that's what they see is like a group that's going to put in the time, not just during team practice, and I hope that they see a work ethic, and that it's something that they think about. It's important to them. And, I hope that they see the academic piece. That's something else that we have a check, recheck, check again system to make sure that these guys are progressing, getting their stuff done. I want them to graduate, move on, get their associate's degree from here. And I do want to see them graduate with their bachelor's and move on in higher education. So that's important. I want guys to know that that's important to me as their coach. And then finally, just we want to be a lifelong lifeline for them, that they know when they leave out of here that they'll always have a home that they can call. They've always got somebody that will be a reference for a job. Somebody that's going to pick up a phone and help them. Somebody that's going to get an invite and go and attend their weddings. And we hope that they get that feel from us that we're in their lives forever.